Live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spot 127. And I apologize. Let us get back into the groove and let me give you some energy real quick. Welcome to Spot 127. My name is Trevor Gahona. I am the senior instructor here at Spot 127. And you're probably saying, why are you live right now? Why are you in your living room? Well, I'm not by myself here. I'm actually with a bunch of friends right now, friends that I call students. All 30 of us are here live to do something that we do on a normal basis at our campuses, East and West location, which is our Spot On podcast. It is a web series that the students come up with the topic themselves, come up with the questions themselves, and answer for themselves. Probably some of the most educated students I've ever had are now here in the summer session. So, like pouring water into cereal and eating it, it's time that we get started for the Spot On podcast. Today's topic, ladies and gentlemen, is something super interesting. It's the state of online education. But as much as we as adults try to plan what we want for teenagers and children, I think it's important that you actually hear from the people receiving their education. I'll hand it off now to our host, Joey Harrington.
Okay. In a time of uncertainty, we teenagers hope to return to a classroom in fall. But as the days go by, we begin to realize that the probability of that happening is plummeting. What will the future hold? Here is our teenage experience with online school. I am Joey Harrington for Spot 127, and this is Spot On. I would like to start with the question for Jose. Do you think your school was prepared to go online?
My school wasn't prepared to go online first. However, they did come up with a solution very quickly, and it was a pretty good solution, in my opinion.
And do you think your family was prepared?
To be honest, they weren't because at home we only have one computer, and my dad and I had to use that computer, so we had to come to a compromise for that.
Okay, and Chloe, do you think that your family and school were prepared?
So my school is very anti-technology and goes as far as possible away from using it. Like the only class we use it for is if we're doing a research project or if we're typing up an essay. So for us, it was very chaotic to get into that motion to be able to do it, and we really never succeeded. I mean, it was kind of very rough for the most of the semester, and I ended up actually having a teacher who, and it wasn't all because of this, but a lot of it was because she ended up she quit, and then for a week we didn't have any assignments, we had no clue what was going on, and then we ended up having a sub for the rest of the quarter. We had no idea anything was happening. It was just a complete mess.
Okay, thank you. And Valentino, do you have anything to add?
Well, my school, they were not prepared during the beginning, and out of the blue they just told everyone that school would not be continuing for the rest of the year. And they eventually got it together, and the teachers started posting things on websites like Google Classroom, and they made it so that the kids who didn't have access to devices at home, their grades wouldn't drop. You could only improve your grades. And yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Edgar, were your school and family prepared?
Well, my school technologically was very prepared because my school is actually basically the opposite of Chloe's. I go to a tech high school where we learn about coding, stuff like that. So every student had their own laptop, which makes it even more ridiculous why it took 3 weeks for them to do anything at all. So in terms of technology, my school was very prepared. We were prepared ahead of time. But in terms of actually doing things, they were not. And as for my family, because I had my school laptop, I was ready whenever the school started doing things. And we had an old laptop that my little brother and sister would use for their schooling. So in that sense, we got lucky that I went to a tech high school.
Okay, thank you. I understand that. And next, Jaden, how do you think tuition would change due to online school?
Well, you see, tuition mainly is like the thing about it is it was to actually attend the classes in person, show up at school. They would give you all the supplies and stuff that you would need to actually attend the classes. But now, since the classes are online, if you already have a computer and most of that stuff, there really seemed to be much of a need to have to actually pay for an access code or something to a class. And another thing to consider is that like for example, a lot of families can't even afford tuition due to the fact that a lot of people are losing their jobs lately due to the whole pandemic.
Yes, and how do you think government funding will change?
Government funding will change in multiple different ways, considering the fact that people will, what's it called? Government funding will change due to the fact that no more sports will be funded at all, and that like people will actually be funded for like the computers that the school will lend out. So, for example, let's say your school needs to like let's say there's a family that doesn't have computers. Instead of giving the money out to sports, which is no longer available, they would give out the money to give computers to the people who so they can actually attend their classes.
Okay, thank you. And Juliet, how do you think government funding and tuition will change?
Government funding would probably change as opposed to, as Jaden said, as opposed to funding, sports and other extracurricular activities. Take it from me, the government funds us for me to do dance and other activities. So being that my school is probably no longer going to be for dance, it's going to be harder on our dancers. Aside of that, government is probably going to be funding computers, more programs online, and it's going to be more difficult for people such as sports players to really get used to not having to do as much as they used to do.
Okay, I understand that. And next, Fatima, how do you think this will affect kids socially?
This will affect kids socially in a pretty negative way because some kids enjoy going to school to have social interaction, and online school doesn't really offer that. And even me as an introvert, was a little bit affected by that, and I kind of miss going to class and socializing with my other peers. But and in online school, you can't really do much of that.
Okay, thank you. And Michael Feston, how do you think it will affect kids socially?
It's not just that I think this, I've seen this firsthand in people, is that because they don't get to socially interact with their friends and everything, their mental health plummets because that is a huge part of their experience in life. And so you're just cutting that off. It makes for a really drastic drop in mental health, which I've seen this in not only my friends, but in myself. It is terrible.
Okay, thank you. That's a very interesting viewpoint. And I'd like to move on to Michael Podlesnik. How do you think standardized testing will be affected? Do you think they'll be less important?
I think standardized tests will probably be, if they weren't already for schools, they'll probably go online because we all have to be home. And I think tests, the way with kids, they're probably gonna, I hope they don't cheat, but it's likely because there's no camera for the teacher to see what they're doing. So the importance will likely go down.
All right, yeah, thank you. And Sol, how do you think standardized tests will be affected?
I also think that there will be a lot of cheating and that it'll be harder to study for the tests.
Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And next, Siri, how do you think after school activities and art classes will be impacted?
For my school during the school year, because I'm in band, towards the end of the school year when Corona hit everyone big, we kind of just sent in videos of ourselves playing as like our grade and stuff. But for the upcoming school year, because I'm in the marching band, our season is going to be canceled because it's not very like practical for over 100 students to be together playing instruments without masks. And I know that really like affects seniors because they've waited like 3 years to do all the big traditions. And I'm also in track, and I feel like that's also going to get canceled because it's also another 100 students running around, being together in large clumps.
Yes, and how do you think people who rely on athletic scholarships will be affected?
I go to a public school, so no one really relies on athletic scholarships, but people that will rely on athletic scholarships for college might be affected.
Okay, and Persia, do you have anything to add?
Yes, so I am in the varsity golf team for my school. So that as since it's a team sport, we haven't been able to practice, and that has taken a toll on our skill level. So we haven't been able to go out.
Okay, and Charlie, do you have anything to add about sports?
Sure. Well, as someone that wants to play college soccer, all the tournaments have been canceled for the foreseeable future, and the coaches, they get a lot of their money from college football revenue, and that college football revenue it spills out onto all the other sports programs. And so if there's no college football, it's hard for these other programs to get the money they need to go out and travel and recruit. So it's like a slippery slope for all college athletics.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And Chloe, do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah, so for my school, well, just in general, I've played soccer for the longest time. Like, I've played since I was really, really little. And for me, it's difficult watching like the sports and stuff go away for both my school and for like rec teams and stuff like that. But for, I know people who rely on athletic scholarships are suffering even more because of that, because they can't even play on team sports because any team sport has too much contact and you just can't like play whatsoever. And so I know a lot of people are struggling for that one.
Okay. And going to move it to Hayden. While you see other students stressed and struggling with online school, does your schedule change at all as a homeschool?
No, it hasn't changed much. The only thing that has changed is my homeschool groups. The few that I do, they were all canceled. So it didn't really change much because I'm very introverted. So I actually enjoyed it a little bit.
Yes, Michael Feston, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. So I'm really bad at pacing myself, and so the loss of being able to go to a rigid scheduled high school has kind of cost me my time, in the sense that I've had some days where I've worked from like 8 to 9, or from 8 in the morning to 9 at night, and I mean my work gets done better, but it costs me almost my entire day just to get it all done.
Okay, and Edgar, would you like to say anything?
Sure. How my schedule changed for one was, well, I couldn't go into my school like most people, so I had to end up coming up with the system while I was doing school at home. So me and my family set up this thing where from like 12 to 8 or whatever, nobody was allowed to disturb me so that I could get my homework or whatever important stuff done. And then afterwards, I would help my little brother, sister, or just help around the house.
Okay, and Aiden, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, for me, I had a couple of classes that relied on in-school interactions and actually being able to do hands-on stuff. So having those switch to online classes, I had a bit more time on my hands during the day, which I would work or I would sleep, and my sleep and work schedule got so intertwined that stress just kept building up. It became a really just hard work environment.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. Charlie, would you rather risk getting the virus and go to school if it opens, or would you stay home and do online school?
Personally, for me, I think it's a risk reward type situation where going into my senior year, it's a really big year, and I think missing the in-class interactions that everyone's highlighted would just be too detrimental to my growth as a student and growth as an adult that's going into the college system. So I really do want to take the chance to get back into school and take the appropriate safety measures too, though.
Yes, thank you. And Monze, what would you choose?
While I do agree that my senior year is important, I'd rather stay at home doing online school so my loved ones could be safe. But like I said, I am willing to put in extra work for my senior year education so I could be better prepared for college despite wanting to stay home.
Okay, and Jolie, do you have anything to say to that?
I prefer just doing online classes, although it's going to be difficult for me because I haven't really done online classes my whole life. I much prefer me being safe and at home and doing online classes.
Okay, and Isari, would you go to school or would you stay and do online?
I personally do want to do online, but my high school is not offering to do AP and honors classes online for the whole year. We can only do it for the first month of school. And I think that really forces some kids to go in school like me because I don't want to risk my GPA and do not honors or AP classes.
That's a very, very interesting viewpoint. I'd like to move to Carter. Many schools are thinking about doing a hybrid schedule. This is where half of the school goes to school in the morning and the other half later in the day. Other schools would have half come one day and the other half the next. How do you feel about this? Do you think that it is a fair system?
I think that that from an education standpoint, it is a fair standpoint because many kids who are doing online school now aren't really learning anything from a study from Education Weekly, I think. And so I feel like from an education standpoint, it is important to do a hybrid schedule, but it also puts you at great risk for the virus. So in my opinion, I don't think it's a smart idea to start using a hybrid system, especially during a time where cases are going up exponentially.
Okay, and Anaya, do you have anything to add?
I do agree that it is a good effort to be safe, but also let the students come back to school and help them learn better than they would be in online school. But I do know that some families are still not comfortable yet to send their kids back to school with the corona still going on. So I think they should be able to choose if they want to go back or not.
Okay, and now moving to Sophie. What was your worst and your best experience with online school? Sophie. Okay, Dustin, what was your worst and best experience with online school?
So for me, my worst experience was a class where all of my online work was just doing study guides and long review packets for like the final exam. But I didn't really like enjoy or learn much from this style of teaching. And I much preferred the in-class version of the class. And my best experience was a class where for the live classrooms and live lectures, there weren't as many people, so it felt a bit more focused and fast-paced, which I enjoy. And I feel like I learned just as well as I did on that online version than I did in class.
Okay, thank you. And Ellie, what was your worst and best experience with online school?
The worst thing would be the initial move. As Edgar said, we go to the same school. The teachers weren't completely sure in what they were doing. And because of that, it took a while for them to adjust to being completely online because they were used to having the homework and stuff be online, but teaching in a physical classroom. So it took them a while to adjust to everything being online, getting every student into the classroom at the right time, that kind of stuff. One of the best things, though, was that when the students were in the classroom, it was much easier to keep things controlled. The students who wanted to learn were able to learn, and the students who wanted to get the points for being in class but wanted to goof off, they always had Google's Classroom's chat on the side. And the students who wanted to focus could just close that and just ignore it while the teacher teaches us. And it was just really easy to focus on our schooling in that way.
Okay, I understand that. And August, how prepared do you think your teachers are for next semester?
I don't think my teachers are very prepared. So we don't have a lot of like online classes and stuff at my school. And I feel like this is a very new situation for a lot of them, especially because a lot of these teachers have been teaching for years and have had like the same plan every year set in place that was like for a physical classroom. And so I feel like everyone right now is just sort of scrambling to try and get this to work.
Okay, and Marcus, how prepared do you think your teachers were?
I also don't think they're very prepared because there were a lot of, I guess, problems with what happened last year at the end of the year because we never did something like this. And there was a lot of problems with the teachers trying to get the class to sort of pay attention and stay on topic because most of the class meetings and the group chats from Microsoft Teams would go very off topic most of the time, and the teacher couldn't really do much about it.
Okay, and Tanya, do you think your school was prepared, your teachers?
I actually think right now that teachers are preparing for class to start up again in August. I think that they're using the summertime to prepare and base their curriculum for online classes rather than before. I feel like for them it was a little unexpected as well, so they didn't really have much time to prepare.
Okay, thank you. And now Varsha, how much do you think that you learned? And were you graded for your work?
I don't think that I learned very much because some of my teachers, they didn't really do any lectures. They kind of just threw homework at us and just wanted us to finish it up. A lot of it was new concepts, and only a few of them did like recorded lectures that they sent out on Google Classroom. And we weren't graded, like we were graded, but we couldn't lose anything from our grade. We could only improve our grade.
Okay, I'm going to move to Marcus. How do you think cyberbullying will play into online school? How do you think discipline will be affected?
I think if anything, cyberbullying will actually turn into a worse problem because while everything's shutting down, like movie theaters and supermarkets, okay, well, that's beside the point. The point is social media apps like Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that, that's never stopped. And that, if anything, it's only been growing because that's been the only way people have been able to interact. So I don't think there's really much that the teachers will be able to do to stop that. In a sense, they could stop it on their own programs, but in terms of other social media acts and messages, I think it's still a really big problem.
Okay, and I'm moving to Joshua. How will people who rely on school resources such as lunches or school supplies be affected?
Well, something that happened with my district in Agua Fria is that a lot of the schools would provide like bags that you could take home that you could eat food out of for the week. And also like you could go eat breakfast and stuff at the schools, and it would change that way they could clean the schools after people had left. But school supplies specifically, like most stores are still like decently opened, like Target, you can go there and you can get school supplies there, but I don't think it's gonna be as like traditional as before, where like sometimes the school can provide cheaper school supplies for the people who needed it, and just like school lunches. A lot of people I know, I know a lot of kids who actually rely on school lunches to be able to eat food throughout the day. So that's one of those things that, like I said, they had to go to the schools and actually drive out to like. I had one person had to drive out to Tolleson just to get food.
Okay, Carter, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, I feel a lot of schools, like 22 million kids, I think, rely on school lunches that are part of low income families. And I know that a lot of like ASA and a lot of schools like that, we're really trying to like think of a solution to keep the schools open because a lot of kids are relying on these school lunches. So I feel like that since schools are closed, even though people are giving lunches out still, I think that many kids now that relied on those school lunches aren't really getting those programs anymore. So I think that really isn't that's kind of an issue. We got to fix that.
Okay, and wrapping it up, does anybody have any last thoughts that they would like to say now?
I guess. Well, we know that COVID isn't really going to go away because it's not going to go away for a while. And I feel that a lot of people are trying to think on how we're able to go back to a traditional brick and mortar school. I think instead of using the energy for that, I think that we should really think about learning to adapt into going into online school because that is going to be our future for a couple years. So I think that we should really focus on that more than trying to go back to traditional school.
Yes, is there anyone else that would like to say anything now?
I guess I'd like to say something if that's okay. I think that a lot of the issues that you guys have talked about and addressed today are things that are wholly and completely unique to you guys. I'm really glad that you have all been given the opportunity and have really stepped up to talk about your experiences because no other generation, scholastic or otherwise, has had to go through the challenges that you guys are currently striding through. And even though I'm sure that everything that's going on, because it's kind of uncharted waters, is pretty daunting and can sometimes be scary to face up to, I'm really happy to see that you guys, despite everything, have been taking everything in stride, have been doing great, are still dedicating yourselves to your futures and trying to make the best out of your situation. So even though everything can be pretty wild and crazy at this point in time, I think that you guys are going to be completely fine because you've already showcased just by speaking up on this podcast and in your personal lives about the experiences that you guys are going through.
Yes, thank you all students so much for sharing your opinions today. I would like to wish you all a good day.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen.
But wait, Joey forgot to say goodbye, Mike.
Yeah, Joey, you have to say good day, mate. Do it.
Got to do the whole thing again.
Gotta start it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Grid view. Guys, excellent job. Keep in mind right now we are still live. Just gonna hold you for a couple more minutes. How did you guys feel about this first project in your first week at summer session?
I feel groovy.
It's good.
Great. Pretty good.
Good?
It was fun.
Really
First time I gotta answer my question. Yeah.
There you go. What was that, Pate?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I was
You
like,
guys kept,
I don't think I've asked
before
my
I got to my
question the
question
full
moving
time.
to our practice run, so this is the first time I gotta answer my question.
All right.
Yeah. I kind of skipped a few. I'm sorry if I skipped you.
It's,
I was trying to get all the questions in.
It's okay, Joey. This is part of doing a podcast live. You as the host, guys, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being great, 1 meaning we need to fix a lot of things. How well did you think Joey did?
10.
I think like a solid 8.
I think that's like a pretty like a 12.
Energy.
I
Like
think
8, 9.
I think he did 10. I'm going 10, 8, 9. Okay, totally fine. I think he did 10. My favorite thing that I was so proud of you at the end, Joey, was when I was like, put in the final thoughts, give it to Hamlet, and as I press enter, you already did it. So that means you already had it in your mind. You had the clock management. Everyone did fantastic. No one rushed their answer. No one had like a stuttering. I got worried at the end when he said Hamlet and Hamlet didn't say anything. I was. I don't know if there was like at the very end. I don't know if there was like a delay on my end or something. But I'm like,
it was kind of a little bit.
yeah, I think it was a delay, but then it happened and everything was fine. So
It was
you guys,
11 out of 10.
you did really good. All of you did really good. All of you for participating really good. So many different perspectives. Ladies and gentlemen, I really want you to understand that as teenagers, your voices are important. I think this did a lot for your community.
We
Period.
are the revolution, guys. Just saying.
You are. You are. You know, as a millennial, I'm just like Gen Z. Get in there and do some damage. You know.
You got this.
If you were to do this project all over again, guys, what would you have done differently? Anyone?
I don't want my mind to go blank again when I talk, like it did in this podcast.
It happens sometimes. I talk to Big Boss all the time, and I forget what I'm saying. You know, her big thing is like, "Why did you leave the bathroom light on for the 5th time today?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So it's like that. So, but would you improve? How would you improve this project? Would you even want to do a project like this again?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Definitely.
Really?
Heck
Really?
yeah.
I'm gonna pick on. I hope I'm saying it right. Anaya. Anaya, you'd like to do this project again?
Yeah, it was fun, like doing a live podcast and answering all this, because it's all like uncharted stuff and we don't really know what's going on. And since we're the only people that are actually experiencing like online education, it's important like adults actually know what's going on instead of just like, oh yeah, you need to go online.
It's true. It's such a wild place right now, and I think what's important is that you guys gave out pretty much your experience, the experience that adults don't know what's going on, parents don't know what's going on. You know, sometimes high school may seem like babysitting for teenagers, but it's truly where you guys are building your future. So I thought it was super cool. Charles, very good answers. Absolutely loved it. You guys are doing fantastic. When you guys see me get excited, it's because you make these transitions between each other so buttery smooth. It's like a professional control room. It's super beautiful. I feel like Vince McMahon all the time when you guys do this. So it's very cool. I think Monday. Let me ask you this, because I kind of Michael Festing. I'm looking at his meme. Let me ask you guys this. Would you guys like to hop into photo editing or do one more of these, or do we split it up a bit?
Split it up.
Split it up.
Split it up would be good.
I think we should split it up and do Photoshop next week.
I think now that you know the formula, I don't think it would take us that long to develop another podcast.
A day.
Here's the question: if we were to develop another one, what would the topic be on?
So with that, the question from Jaden is, what will the topic be? Will Goku make it to Namek on time?
Yes.
Will Master Roshi teach him the Kamehameha? All we can do, Jaden, is find out on the next Dragon Ball Z.
Next Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, pretty much what I'm saying is, let's enjoy this moment now that you guys have created. Big shout outs to everyone that viewed, because we're still live right now.
Oh, we are?
Of course.
Yeah, we're still live.
you.
Yeah. So all your parents that came in, a lot of the Real Salado staff, Spot 127 staff, KGZZ staff that came in and is watching still currently. Big shout outs to them. Let's enjoy this moment now. Monday, let's set up our next podcast. Tuesday, let's just do a quick review. Wednesday, let's do some video editing. Thursday, we do our last live one for the summer. And then the next week, You guys dictate what the class is going to be. It's your summer. Spot's here for you. Cool?
Cool.
All right. Juliet, that's literally how I feel. I'm looking at Juliet in Discord. That's literally how I feel.
Right now. Tyler dancing.
There you go. Guys, it is 12:03. I hope you have a great Thursday. Do we have class tomorrow?
No.
No.
Oh, we don't?
There's no class. No classes on Friday.
There's no class on Friday.
No class on Fridays. If you want to come to the Google Meets on Fridays, guess what? There won't be any. So no.
There will be me. Come on, hope there will be me.
Playing around.
If you have a topic that you think we can do for a podcast, drop it in the lounge. See what it is. I would really say this. See what is relevant going on in the world and to your community and talk about it. It's a red elephant. Find what is red elephant. Very similar to a blueberry fago. And if you can find those and put those in.
Trevor, why?
I like that song.
Because why
Dude, I
not?
was looking at Joshua's face when we were doing the stream, and he's just like, and he's just holding it in, and I had to literally take off my camera and just like fucking. Oh my god, it was so.
How did you like the intro at the very beginning?
It made me laugh so much.
So you
It's
guys
a
done.
very good intro.
I always saw Juliet.
Joshua laughed it. We're just like laughing so hard.
I love when I was like, I'm here with 30 of my good friends, and I'm like, am I even doing it right?
And I'm looking at Josh's face, and he's just like holding it in and trying to keep it together.
Yeah.
Does Trevor actually have friends?
Shut up.
Never.
But yeah, guys, enjoy your weekend. Think of ideas, create. I know you guys are at home. I know you guys may not be able to go anywhere, but find a creative avenue because it's what's going to keep you sane. A summer project. Find a summer project. You got 1 month left. You can learn a language or learn a couple words in a different language. I will say this. Stay away from binge watching a series because when you binge watch a series, here's the reason why I say it. All you do is sit there. Find something that keeps you productive. Find something that adds something to you. You know?
Expand your mind.
At least something that requires you to think, not just watching a show.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that if you play sports and you miss being outside and be active, man, find something that keeps you active in your driveway or at a park that's like 80 feet away from anyone else when you cough, and just have a good time, right, guys?
Same.
Yeah. With all that said, guys, class is dismissed. I will see you Monday.
Move out.
Same Dragon Ball time.
Same Dragon Ball.
Same Dragon Ball place. Guys, give it up for yourself on that time.
Same back.
Proud of you. Big boss. Cut the cord. We're
Trevor,
out.
Trevor, I have a
Big
legit
boss.
question.